Hello and welcome back once again to movie reviews. I don't know if I want to use the other name yet or not. I'm still debating on whether I want to call it. I've been trying to think of a different name for this other than movie reviews for how long have I been doing this? Like 3 years now, or longer. And everything I'd come up with I wasn't really too keen on, and I came up with one the other day that I kind of liked, but the more I think about it, I'm not sure if I actually like it enough to use it. Maybe next time I do a movie review, I might use it then. And then I think what I'm going to do is maybe put it out as a vote. And if people like it, I'll change it to it. If not, then I'll keep using movie reviews until I come up with something else that I actually like better. You'll have to continue tuning into movie reviews and see what that might be. So anyway, second movie up. Since I finally got around to seeing movies again, I also went and saw the new Fantastic Four. I know I said a while back I was going to go see that. It's been open for a while, but like I said in the last video, my schedule's been kind of hell lately. So I'm just now finally getting to a point where I feel I can actually sit through a movie without falling asleep and missing half of it, or wasting my money, or not being able to review it properly because I missed a large chunk. I don't want another one of those situations like with Epic where I had to go back and rewatch it before I could review it because I missed like a half hour of it. Or like, was it World War Z where I fell asleep right at the last couple minutes and woke up, and from what I heard I didn't really miss much, but still it's one of those things that I try not to do, especially since I'm paying for these out of pocket now. So I went and saw the new Fantastic Four. I went into it wanting to like it, wanted to give it a chance. Everyone was like, oh, it's going to be shit, it's going to be shit, it's going to be shit. And I was like, every other superhero movie lately has been fine. Even some of the stuff outside of the Marvel-verse. I know Marvel-verse is the one that everyone's into right now. But even like some of the, like Man of Steel, yeah, it could go both ways with that one. I think I gave that one a positive rating, but like I said, it could have gone either way, honestly. But yeah, mostly the stuff that's been coming out hadn't been too bad. So even though Marvel's kind of trying to kill off everything that they don't already have back in their possession in order to get it back in their possession, I was willing to give this one a chance, just to see what was going to happen with it. There's another franchise that was coming up for renewal, and they had to make a movie, and I think it was one of the ones owned by Fox. I can't remember which one it was, and they're like, just let Marvel have it back. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, so I think Marvel was kind of hoping that everyone was going to start doing that, but if you can cash in, make a couple million off of the name while you still got it, why not, right? So I was willing to give this one a shot, like I said. It couldn't be any worse than the last two Fantastic Four movies, and I actually liked those, even though they kind of have a bad reputation now. I enjoyed them for what they were at the time, in a time when superhero movies like X-Men were first starting to blow back up. You had the Fantastic Four. It was a okay telling of the story. Maybe not the best casting choices. Maybe some of the effects could have been better, but overall, I didn't mind that one. Either one of them. So going into this one, I wanted to give it a fair chance too. And I've been repeating that same line for the last 4 minutes now and haven't said crap about the movie. I guess the first biggest thing about the movie is that they're all more teenager now, as opposed to being older, established scientists and whatnot. I was kind of willing to overlook that because I know in the comics they were always older, like in their 30s or early 40s or whatever. But, it was a different twist. So let's see what happens with it. It's like everyone pooed all over Star Trek because it was a different angle on everything, and then everyone loves it now. So, let's give the kids a try. Other people complain, well, why is Johnny Storm black? My biggest reason that I didn't want Johnny Storm to be black is because of the way it would have normally been incorporated, which I'm actually glad they did the opposite of, I guess, in a way. Okay, so my biggest thing when I saw that Johnny Storm was going to be black, I was like, well, Johnny and Sue are supposed to be brother and sister. So obviously that means one of them is probably going to be adopted, or they're going to come from a mixed family. Most likely, being Hollywood, they would make one adopted. And traditionally, it would have been Johnny being adopted into the white family of scientists and whatnot. And that was kind of where I was like, you know, if you're going to have a black actor, can you do something other than that? You know, like, make it to where, you know, their mom and dad were black and white and got married. You know, it's possible, you know. Yeah, so I was kind of looking down on it for that reason alone. I was like, you know, they're going to do this whole, oh, the white family adopted the black kid thing. And surprisingly, they went the other way. The Storm family was black, and Sue, the white child, was adopted into it. So I actually gave it props for that when I first saw that, which was as simple as seeing their father in the preview. But like I said, it still could have been they had a white mother, or, you know, it was like a Brady Bunch type of thing where the dad had the son, the mom had the daughter, they got together. You know, the daughter, you know, maybe the dad adopted the daughter post joint family, and so that she would take on his last name, like with the Brady Bunch. Actually, it wasn't really clear on that either. She didn't really. They mentioned her being adopted like once, and they really didn't go into too much detail about it. So it could still be like we're both like divorcees that got married, and we each had a kid from a previous marriage, and you know, now we're one big family, Brady Bunch family. So I did like that they didn't go the traditional Hollywood route of making Johnny the adopted one. So I was able to overlook that as well. I don't have a problem with changing the race of a character. So with those two major things that everyone liked to complain about set aside, what was the movie about? I did kind of like that it explored the early friendship of Reed and Ben, that they were friends from elementary school, how they kind of grew up together. But then that's kind of the extent of Ben's involvement until he becomes the Thing. Okay, so let's get into the premise, or the plot, the recap of the movie, I guess. So, Reed is a genius child, and he's doing a school report, and, you know, the teacher's kind of like, you're full of shit, redo the report. And obviously, if you look at this kid's notebooks, he understands something that other adults don't, and they should be exploring that, especially since I think that it took place in like 2007. You know, we understand technology enough now to where if you see a kid writing down advanced math equations in a notebook, you might be like, hey, we might want to look into what this kid's doing. You know, he might be some type of genius. I know they act like it's way back in like the early 50s and 60s still, where, oh, that kind of thing, you're just, you're a daydreamer, you know, you need to get your head out of the clouds type of thing. And it's like really offset in the movie. But at the same time, him and Ben are in the same class, so Ben kind of takes an interest in what he's saying as far as his school report. And then Ben finds him in his family's junkyard stealing parts. And he's like, well, just because I'm curious about what you're actually building, I'm going to let you have the parts. So they go over and they're working on the thing. And then it jumps ahead to where they're in the, like, I guess high school, like maybe early freshman, sophomore type of high school area where they're still doing a science fair. And the invention that Reed had been working on way back then, he's still trying to perfect to this point, instead of, you know, like 900 other inventions that he would probably be working on at the same time. You know, it's like they could have done more of the Iron Man thing with it, where, yeah, he's focusing on this thing, but he's got like 900 other things that he's also done. And no, he's just spent the last however many years of his life just building this, trying to perfect this one invention. And of course, you know, stupid ass teachers that are still the same teachers that he had in elementary school for some reason. are judging the science fair, and he's like, well, this is a science fair, not a magic fair, and this has no real-world practical applications, and blah, 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 so you're disqualified. As, it's, again, that old thinking that they're trying to fit into a modern timed movie. And I think that's the thing that bugged me the most about the early part of this movie. But it's building up to them all meeting each other. Okay, so Sue Storm and her dad are at the science fair for some unbeknownst reason, because none of them go to that school. And they see... I'm going to recap saying that instead of saying he's a sophomore year, I'm going to say he's probably junior or senior year, because when they look at his invention, they offer him a full scholarship, which he ends up leaving that school and going directly to this research institute that they offered him a scholarship for. So Ben doesn't come along. Ben's like, oh, even though I helped you build all this, it's like, I don't get any form of a scholarship. I don't get to come along now. He's like, oh, you're on your own. I'm going to go back to the junkyard now and be myself. And that's kind of the last you see of Ben for a long time. So then Sue and Reed start working together. They bring Victor in. They go a little bit into Victor's backstory about he kind of came up with the same idea as Reed back when he was younger than Reed was when he started it. And he knew what he expected it to be, but for some reason he could never see the end result of it, where Reed finally cracked the code and finished the project. So that's why they were bringing him in, and they had all three of them working on it together. And even though Victor's kind of a rebel type of person at first, he doesn't like authority, but he enjoys working with them, I guess. So it kind of goes into that whole Reed and Victor used to be sort of friends and worked together at one point aspect of it. And of course the falling out comes from when Sue starts to pay a little bit of attention to Reed because Victor has a boner for her. And, he's kind of like, oh, you're being unprofessional and blah, blah, blah. So then that kind of gets swept up. The whole you're being unprofessional by flirting with Sue just because I like her type of thing gets kind of swept under the rug by, oh yeah, we finished the project. Do you want to see, what it does? And Victor's like, oh, it's finished, and he kind of just like sidesteps that whole thing. So it's kind of glossed over the whole feud between them, which really they could have done a lot more with. I'm still only in like the first half hour of the movie, and it's already like 13 minutes into this video. So they call everyone in. They show that it's working. And of course the government wants to step in, do their thing with it. And basically they're going to get shifted out onto another project or whatever, and the government and NASA are going to take over this project and kind of take it away from them. So they kind of get pissed off about that. I didn't tell how Johnny got there. So Johnny has a genius level IQ like the rest of them, but doesn't want to be working at the Institute with them at first. He's kind of like, I'm just going to go do my own thing. And he's kind of that rebellious, extreme street racer type of guy. And ends up getting in trouble with the law. And his dad's like, well, because you bought the car with my money, if you want it back, you're going to have to earn it, so you're going to have to come work at the Institute with me, which Johnny agrees to do. He starts working with Victor, Reed, and Sue, so it's the four of them. Again, Ben's gone, and he kind of starts to enjoy it. He's not really too keen on working with Victor at first, but him and Reed kind of hit it off, and then he kind of gets used to, like, Victor's kind of there. It doesn't really explore the whole Johnny being a sarcastic comedian type of thing, where he just kind of, says stuff that would piss people off, but he's doing it because he thinks it's funny, even though no one else is in on the joke type of thing. Like the whole Deadpool type of thing, which I think was pulled off a lot better in, again, the original ones. With, that was the one with Chris, was that Chris Pratt? That played Johnny Storm originally? I don't remember. No, it was Chris Evans, Captain America. That's right. Sorry, I knew it was one of the Chris's. Or wait. Yeah, one of them. Yeah, because Chris Pratt's Skylar. Okay. I knew Chris Pratt and Chris Evans were both in the Marvel Universe somewhere. I just had to think of where they were. Chris Evans being Captain America now. So yeah, the Chris Evans version of it, although people shit all over it, it pulled off that aspect of his character a lot better than Michael B. Jordan was able to. And it's just kind of glossed over. They had 2 hours in this movie, and they glossed over so much to try and rush to a point that they could have gotten to a lot easier. So basically, NASA's going to take over the whole project and send people. Basically, the project it's a teleporter, and it teleports to another dimension or another planet somewhere. So NASA's going to take over and send their astronauts, I guess. And so Sue fucks off and goes and does her own thing, and the boys are all sitting around getting drunk, and they're like, screw NASA. What if we just go tonight? So they all agree to go, just the three of them. And then Reed's like, well, I'm not going to go without my buddy Ben, because I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for his help. And the other two guys are like, okay, whatever, bring whoever you want. So he calls Ben. Ben shows up, and it's just like, hey, everyone, this is Ben. And everyone's just like, aye. And then they get in this thing and go. It's like he has no training, nothing. And so for him to just be like welcomed into, oh yeah, let's go to this other dimension, you can go with us type of thing. It's something that's excessively rushed. It didn't need to be. They could have developed their relationship more. So the four of them go through to the other dimension, leaving Sue back on Earth. They're exploring the other dimension, everything's going fine. And then this electrical energy on the planet discharges and hits Victor, and they're trying to run away from it, and they're trying to climb back up the mountain to get back to the capsule so they can teleport back before it gets destroyed. And Victor gets hit by this stuff, and they're trying to save him, and they just can't hold on to him. He falls. So they think he's gone. They're like, he's gone. Let's get back to the pod. We got to go before it's too late. They all get back to the pod. For some reason, Ben's door won't close, so he's exposed to everything that's being hit on them. Reed, he's in the pod, but he's being affected by the electrical discharge, but not really directly. And then the electrical discharge clumps all these rocks onto Ben, and the electrical discharge fires through the window of Johnny's pod and lights him on fire. So Sue realizes what's going on because she noticed that the pod had launched because it accessed her terminal where she was working. So she runs back in. She's like, they can't get the return sequence to initiate, so she's trying to do it manually. It comes back and it sends out a discharge that hits her. So that explains how she got her powers. Instead of just, all five of them decide to go together because, what the hell. Because it seems like Sue would be just as intent on, we did this together, we should all go as well. If one of them says we should all go, she would be like, yeah, let's all go. But I guess they needed someone there to get her back, which again could have been a Ben role, but then how would he have gotten overexposed to all the rocks? Because he's obviously overexposed and can't change back. But the way the discharge happened, that could have explained that, but then, I don't know. So, they're all taken captive into this research facility called Area 57, haha. And Reed is trying to get everyone out, but he can't get everyone out, so he only manages to escape himself, and he's working towards trying to figure out a way to get in, get everyone, get them out, get them help. And meanwhile, the military has been training everyone. The military creates the suits that allows them to regulate their powers. Obviously, it doesn't work on Ben for whatever reason, or they just never gave him one. It works on Johnny and Sue. They're training them how to better control their powers. And basically the idea is they're going to rebuild this machine that blew up and go back to the other dimension still. So of course they do what they can with it, but they can't finish it without Reed's help. So Ben's pissed off that Reed left and left him behind, so they're not friends anymore. And they've trained him to be a military, weapon, I guess. He goes in where soldiers might not be able to, and like destroys tanks and everything. So to spare soldiers' lives, because he's this big rock monster. So they're like, okay, we need you to go get Reed. They use Sue to track down where he's at. Then Ben goes and gets him, brings him back, and Reed agrees to help them because he wants to go back to the other dimension and see if there's any way that he can find to cure his friends. If the other dimensions would cause it, there's got to be something there that can cure it. So he agrees to help him based on, that. So they take the pod, they build the new pod, they take it back, and of course, it's like, I think they said like 7 years later, 10 years later, something like that. And of course, somehow Victor is still alive on this island, and now he's Dr. Doom. The look of Dr. Doom, again, it made more sense in the other one. He looked better in the other one. Just whatever. So Dr. Doom comes back. They take Victor back with them, and it's kind of revealed that over those 10 years, he kind of, his battle with authority, he kind of went nuts, which he had no authority there. He was free to do whatever he wanted, but I guess his ideals that the military were going to come through and destroy that world like they've done with Earth didn't sit too well with him. So he's just kind of been going nuts thinking about that over the last 10 years. So he comes back solely for the purpose of initiating a breach, I guess, between the two worlds, or a bridge between the two worlds, where it'll cause a chain reaction that'll basically suck everything on Earth through this black hole to the other dimension and basically destroy it throughout the process. So that's his whole reason for agreeing to come back at first, because at first he's like, help me, and then he's like, I only came here to destroy you. And Reed's like, I want to talk to him, and everyone's like, or the military's all like, not till we're done with him. And of course, if they would have let Reed talk to him first, it might have been avoidable, but because the military people, who he obviously has a problem with, want to talk to him first, there's no reason with him now. So the breach is initiated, the four have to come together, they put all their differences aside, and they go to fight Victor. And of course, it's the Fantastic Four, so of course they defeat Victor. God, it was such a inept ending, I really don't even remember how they defeated Victor, or if he actually died. I'm pretty sure they made it look like he did, but there's probably an opening for him to come back, because they are working on a sequel from what I heard. So they all finally come together as a team. Reed, they defeat Victor. Reed tells him, I promise I'll find a way to fix all this, blah, blah, blah. And, then the government's like, well, we'd like to continue to train you, and they're like, no, we're our own thing, so you can either leave us be and give us what we want, or you'll have to fight us. So of course the government gives in and is like, okay, well, if anything you come up with can benefit us, let us know. And they're like, well, even if it does, we have the right to deny you access to it, whatever we come up with is ours. So that's kind of the ending of the movie. They have their facility now. They kept talking about the facility was supposed to tie into something else, but they never gave a name to the facility. Well, they did, but I don't remember what it was or how it ties in. It wasn't the Baxter Building. The Baxter Building was actually the foundation that Reed got the scholarship to. I guess it was the Baxter Foundation that was at the Baxter Building. So yeah, they got this facility now where they can work on whatever they want. They put their differences aside. They're a team now. Victor may or may not be out there. And that's kind of the end of the movie. It's like, I liked how it started where they're building up the past. But then they just kind of like, oh, what, forget all that crap, let's get to them becoming the Fantastic Four. They do that, and then it's like, okay, now skip ahead to where, okay, we're like an hour and a half into this, we only got 30 minutes to wrap it up, so let's skip ahead to the climax, and here's the climax, and it's really lackluster, and now here's your Marvel ending, you know, it's like, yeah, overall, okay, I've been talking about this for 26 minutes now, and in case you haven't got it, it's a very lackluster movie. It had a lot of potential. Like I said, I was looking forward to it going into it. I was hoping they would do something good with it. But honestly, compared to what we got back in, was it 97 when the others came out? 99, something like that? I don't remember. The Jessica Alba one that came out back around the same time the first couple X-Men films did. That one, at least to me, is a better origin story of the Fantastic Four than this one was. I liked where they were trying to go with it. They needed to focus on other parts and less on other parts and flow things better. And it probably could have been a decent movie, but it's like, oh, we spent so much time trying to do all this backstory that we have to rush through the ending, and yeah, it's, I don't know. So if you want to watch a good Fantastic Four movie, go watch the original ones compared to this one. Like I said, I did see that. Who has this one? Is this one? This one isn't Fox. Is this Sony? I don't know. Whichever company has the rights to Fantastic Four, I saw that they're working on a sequel to this one, but they're kind of hesitant of whether to go forward with it or not because of the lackluster reviews of this one. But you know what? If you're not going to let it resort back to Marvel or work out some type of working relationship with Marvel, like I think Sony did with Spider-Man, if you don't want to do that, then go ahead with your sequel. Just do something with it. You know, you got your origin out there, now do something with the sequel. Honestly, every time something gets rebooted, I wish they would just skip over telling us the origin story again, just get into it. It's one thing I kind of like with Spider-Man moving over to the Avengerverse now, is they're not going to redo his origin story. They're not going to give him his own standalone movie. If they do later on, he'll already be established. He's already established going into Civil War. They're just going to jump into him already being Spider-Man, and that's what needs to happen at this point. We've had the Tobey Maguire one. We've had the Andrew Garfield one. Sadly, I was kind of looking forward to seeing how the Anthony Garfield one, or Andrew, what is his name? Andrew Garfield? How the Andrew Garfield one was going to go with introducing the Sinister Six. And that one probably would have been the end of the trilogy, so they honestly should just let him do it like, hey, you got to get it out before this point, because after that, we want to do our thing with the character. It would have been easy. It probably would have already been out. We would have already had it. It would be over and done with. And then we'd get a whole new Spider-Man coming into Civil War. We'll never know now. That's an unfinished trilogy. But yeah, went off on a weird tangent with that. But yeah, the thing I like about that going into Civil War is they're not going to tell you another Spider-Man origin story. If he gets another standalone movie after that in the Marvelverse, it's not going to be another origin story. He's already established. They're just going straight forward with him. And honestly, I wish they would have just kind of done that. With this, we don't really need to see how they got their powers again. We know they got their powers. Let's just do something with them. But I think that's what's initially going to cause the burnout with superhero movies is repeated origin stories. It's like, yeah, we've seen it. Can we do something else? But every time they have to reboot the franchise, they have to retell the origin story. They did the same thing with Thor and Avengers and all that. Everything leading up to Avengers. We had like 3 versions of the Hulk. We had the Captain America origin story, how Thor got his hammer back origin story. Who else is in the Avengers that had a standalone movie? Iron Man, which we haven't really seen an Iron Man film before, but there's been Captain America stuff told. But even if you go back to the 90s Captain America movie, I don't think they did his origin story. I think they just kind of jumped into him being Captain America already. It's been a while since I've seen it. I could be wrong. Although I might be getting my hands on that, so I may have to do a review of it. Like a nostalgic throwback look at it. Oh, anyway, so it's been a half hour and I'm still rambling about this damn movie. Star rating on this one. Oh, Jesus. Again, it's another middle-of-the-road type of movie, but could have been a lot better. I just realized how much noise my refrigerator's been making. But overall, it could have been a lot better. It had some good intents, but poorly executed. So I would say middle of the road, but then I have to consider, did I enjoy this more than Jurassic World, or are they on par? Because honestly, either way, I'm going to have to say a 2.5 on this one. It just, like I said, a lot of potential, poorly executed, and it knocks it down below being a middle-of-the-road movie. So yeah, 2.5 on this one, and like I said, if you're interested in it, take a look at it. Maybe you'll get something out of it I didn't, but it had potential. That's all I can really say about it. It had potential. So yeah, I've been rambling for a half hour. Most of you probably haven't even watched it this long. You probably turned off after the first couple minutes. So I'm going to end this here. So as always, thanks for watching. And until next time, we'll see you at the movies.